Dunc Holder on a Wednesday, November 29th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Look, we got a jam-packed show today. I feel like it's almost a Thursday show. We got so much going on because usually we have the Thursday show and Friday show and it flies by, but so much going on here on Wednesday. Why don't I lay out the show real quick and then we will get to the hottest topic probably in the sports world today about the benching of New Orleans native Eli Manning. Of course, he will not be the starting quarterback for the Giants anymore. He's being benched for one Geno Smith. Oh my goodness, Jeff, I'll get into it in a second. But just to lay out the show, around 10:30, we will talk with our own Ron Higgins, LSU SEC columnist for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. We'll talk with him about the college football playoffs. Look, Georgia's taking on Auburn in the SEC title game. Alabama right now is on the outside looking in. And, of course, the coaching chaos. It sounds like they've got a new coach up in Mississippi State. Dan Mullen's now in Florida. Tennessee can't hire Boo-Boo the Bear. They can't hire anybody. So we'll talk with Ron Higgins about that. And, of course, LSU bowl possibilities. So we'll talk with Ron about that. Then around 11:30, we will have our own Will Guillory talking Pelicans, Timberwolves. They hit the court tonight at Smoothie King Center. Of course, that's going to be a significant game in the Western Conference. They're battling for playoff supremacy right now early on in the season. And then top of the 11 o'clock hour, we will go up to New York and talk with Bob Glauber, the NFL columnist, a longtime NFL columnist for Newsday. We will talk with him about definitely, Jeff, the hottest topic in sports, and it just so happens to relate to us down here in New Orleans with Eli Manning, and I think it's a stunner for basically the sports world to see just what's happened to Eli and how the Giants have handled the situation.
Well, you know, the Giants have always been kind of one of the model franchises in the NFL. It's a blue blood organization from the start. They've had great ownership, great management, and they've taken a nosedive, and their PR hit they're taking for this move is unprecedented. I can't remember anything in the history of the Giants that compares to this, locally or nationally. Their image has been tarnished, and they've got some major PR work to do to get back the fan base, because Eli Manning led them to 2 Super Bowls and has not had the greatest year, but he is not the problem. I think everybody knows what the problems have been in New York. It's been management. It's been player procurement. The hiring of Ben McAdoo as a head coach, a lot of people question that, and that's bearing out, I think, to be proven true. So to blame, essentially what it comes across is that they're blaming Eli Manning. And I think that's very ill-advised is the best way I could use it. I mean, it's gutless in a lot of ways, the way they've handled it. And certainly, I think it spells the end of Eli Manning's career in New York, and it should not have ended this way.
I think what's even more gutless, and it's probably something that's very minor on the scale, but the way that the Giants, just look at the way they almost promoted it on social media. Watch Eli Manning's reaction to him being benched. It's like they're dragging him through the dirt unnecessarily.
Exactly. Everything
about it stinks. You've seen so many former players, even current teammates, just say, what on planet Earth is going on here with Eli Manning? He's not the problem. Look, Odell Beckham's been gone. Brandon Marshall's been gone. Sterling Shepard has not been a part of this team. Their offensive line stinks. Their running game isn't the best. And I'm not saying that Eli Manning has been an elite quarterback in the last couple of years, because I don't think that's the case. But still, can you imagine if Sean Payton and Tom Benson did this to, say, Drew Brees? Can you imagine if they did this to Aaron Rodgers? They didn't even do it like this to Brett Favre. They let him play it out, even though they had a clear heir apparent. Instead, I think what piles onto this is that the news is the Giants are starting Geno Smith.
I think that's the biggest point.
And what a disaster in New York with the Jets he was. He was a total nightmare.
Right. If you were doing this for, say, Davis Webb, their young quarterback, that would make a little more sense. I think people could at least understand it. But Geno Smith is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Everybody knows it, especially the people in New York that saw him play. That was just ridiculous to try and sell that on the New York fan base. And not only that, but Eli Manning has a record going right now for consecutive streaks. It's approaching a record and of consecutive starts. And for it to end because of this decision has nothing to do with him as a player or him and his health. It has to do with a decision made by management. I don't think anybody in New York is going to survive this. I don't think Jerry Reese is going to survive it. I don't think Ben McAdoo is going to survive it. I think ownership is going to completely clean house. And so knowing that, now Eli Manning is going to pay the price for his records and probably move on to another spot next year.
I hope he moves on to another spot next year. I'll just read a quote from a spot I think he's going to move on to, and that would be a quote from Tom Coughlin, who is now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, Blake Bortles is a pile of nonsense. Eli Manning would fit perfectly with Leonard Fournette. More New Orleans connections down in Jacksonville. I'll just read you Tom Coughlin's quote here, and just a heads up, next segment, you'll hear from Eli Manning, our partners in NJ.com here with NOLA.com. We're sister media organizations, and we will hear from what Eli Manning had to say. Also, WAPT up in Jackson, they had a chance to record some comments from Archie Manning, who was in a banquet. I think Rick Cleveland, our good buddy from,
yes,
longtime legendary sports writer from Mississippi, he was like in the shot too, so he was up there with him. So we'll hear what Archie Manning had to say about this as well. But here's what Tom Coughlin, of course, he's with the Jaguars, coached Eli Manning. Here's what he had to say. Surprise is not the word. My sentiments are totally with Eli Manning. I love the kid. He's a class act. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion. He is the finest, most humblest young man in that locker room. I haven't followed the Giants. I know it's a disappointing year, but my thoughts are strictly with Eli. I am very upset about when I heard that. I bet you immediately someone is making some back channel talk somewhere. Hey, come on down, Eli. Let's see if you can get yourself released and get the hell out of New York.
That seems like a fait accompli, doesn't it? I mean, it's going to happen. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But there are other people might be in the market for him, and I'm sure the Giants are going to want to get some return on Eli Manning. And the unfortunate thing is that I think his leadership now falls into question, and unwittingly. It shouldn't. But the fact is he wants to lead this team. He said it. He wants to lead this team out of the abyss, the problems. And he's been a class act all along. He's never complained. He's never come out and gone against the company line, which is typical of a Manning. That's the way they handle business. That's why they get paid the way they get paid, because they are basically the CEO of their team. And for him to be treated this way, especially with the stuff you were saying about them using his press conference on social media, that's ridiculous. And that would never happen here with the New Orleans Saints. It would never happen in a class organization, and the Giants have always been run that way. And I think it's interesting that the Giants owner is also putting stuff out on social media. To me, that's I don't know how they recover from it. I really don't.
What is she saying? I'm not
she
sure.
She said like Eli Manning and had a broken heart. That it hurt her that this was going on. I mean, she's the daughter of the owner of the team, and certainly a very popular actress. Not that that matters, but it just shows you how this is resonating in New York and across the country.
And it's just something that when you're a quarterback, not when you win one Super Bowl, but
in San Francisco, but they had Steve Young behind him. Same thing in Green Bay when Brett Favre was being moved out. They had Aaron Rodgers. So you understand it. The fans understand it. But Geno Smith is a joke. Everybody knows it. And for them to act like that they need to see Geno Smith, I mean, what do they need to see? They've seen him play numerous times on tape. So I don't know how they sell that. And I think that is why this thing blew up in their face. And I don't know why they thought it wouldn't. I don't know what they were thinking ahead of time, but clearly they weren't. As you know, columnist of the New York Post said, this isn't exactly Lou Gehrig replacing Wally Pipp. It's Geno Smith. And that's impossible to sell to the New York fan base or any fan base, because Geno Smith has a body of work that we've all seen. And Eli Manning is not the problem there. He's not played great, but no one on that team has played well. The defense has been a disappointment. The offensive line's a travesty, and their entire perimeter receiving core is injured. So what did they expect to happen? I don't know what they're... And he has that consecutive start streak, and I know that that's really not a huge landmark, but it means a lot to Eli Manning, and he deserves that. You owe it to him to continue that streak. I mean, that's a hallowed streak among quarterbacks, and it meant a lot to Eli Manning, and now it's going to be over.
Well, he passed Peyton up, and I think they were probably waiting for that. And yet, Look, let's spell it out. The Giants gave him an option. Hey, we can start you, and then we're going to bench you in the second half like it's a preseason game. And Eli Manning, in his comments that we're going to play in the next segment, he's basically like, no, that's a joke. I mean, you're acting like this is a preseason game, and I'm just some charity case.
Right.
So, look, he was given the option. I'm with him. I wouldn't want to do it. It's an embarrassment to one of the best players to ever play for the Giants.
I've got no problem if they want to work a guy in and at some point for a series or two. I mean, they're obviously giving up on the season. And so if they said that to him, then I look at it a little bit differently, because I think if they want to see a quarterback, whether it's Davis Webb or Geno Smith, within the course of a game, I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think it's an insult to Eli Manning. I don't.
But I think it's an insult to put in Geno Smith. If you're putting in Davis Webb, it's a different story. Geno Smith is a laughingstock in New York.
Right. And everybody
That's
knows,
the problem.
Everybody knows what Geno Smith is.
Right.
I mean, everybody knows it.
Right, exactly. I wonder if he's going to punch Eli in the face like he did, or get punched in the face. I don't know. But anyway, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved in the show. Why don't we take a break right here, and next segment we will hear